Hi, this is David again, and I had another request. A gentleman asked me, could I explain the difference between the Danites and what they did and how they did it and whatever. This is not a common known doctrine in the Mormon Church. In fact, most Mormons will tell you it's not true. It is true. I believe, now I'm just telling you again, you may have to go to the internet and confirm or deny what I'm saying here, but I believe the Danites were created at the time of Joseph Smith. Now, a Danite was a calling in the Mormon Church that was extremely secret. No one really knows, to my knowledge, how many Danites there were. No one really knows how many people they killed. We do have some information. Of course, during Brigham Young's reign, he used Porter Rockwell, and probably my best reading on it is about maybe 5 or 8, 10 maybe other people. Now, Porter Rockwell is an obvious one. He's famous in the Mormon Church for saying that he cannot get excommunicated because he repents too damn fast. There were a couple of these savory characters who were pioneers and mavericks, rebels, and Brigham Young was in need of bodyguards. Brigham was a little abrasive. Brigham, to my best of knowledge, never went to Washington, D.C. and never had real governmental interactions. Brigham was his own man, and he was here in Utah, and he used Porter Rockwell, and I believe 5 or 8 other people that... my friend that asked for this particular video, it wasn't the CIA type or FBI type organization. It was an organization that was basically built to beckon to Brigham Young's and Joseph Smith's commands. Brigham Young and Joseph Smith both said they were prophets, and sometimes God told them things that he didn't tell the rest of us. One of the things he told Joseph is marry a couple of 8th graders and just screw their brains out. I'm going to raise the flaming sword and order you to. And so that's what he told Emma. And Emma said, you can take that blazing sword and put it where the sun don't shine. But anyway, there were upset, angry Mormons. There were groups of Mormons, starting in Kirtland when Joseph gave out the monopoly money, the Kirtland Money Fund, or Kirtland Money Society. He he was a counterfeiter. He printed his own money, yes. And then he took good American money, and then when the false monopoly money didn't buy anything, there were Mormons that were pissed. I mean, some Mormons can get angry. Nowadays, you can't. You just bow your head and say yes. But back in those days, when people joined the church, they expected Joseph Smith to be somewhat honest. And when he wasn't in court for fraud, and he wasn't sitting in Liberty Jail, and he wasn't sleeping with 14-year-olds, he was stealing their money in Kirtland. So anyway, the Kirtland people chased him out of town. He got on a horse and he ran out of town. Well, if you'd put a lot of money into that in those days, whatever, $5,000 or $10,000, you may have somebody that gets on their horse too and chases you. Now, there were people that really believed that Joseph Smith was a prophet. There's about 4 million on the earth that still believe that. They don't have 14 million. They have 4 million that are active. And out of that, there's about a third that pay tithing. So Monson and Packer, their paychecks are still coming in. But Joseph learned very quickly, because when he got to Nauvoo, he built an army, the militia. Now, that wasn't totally unheard of. It wasn't totally unheard of in those days. There were other states that it's kind of like the National Guard that built militias. So that's not in and of itself that strange. When he went to Carthage jail and was about to be assassinated or killed because of his shenanigans, he thought that the Nauvoo Legion was going to come and rescue him. They didn't. Now that raises a big question in my mind. Why didn't they? He was the commander-in-chief. He was the top general with the big hat, and he was training them like a terrorist organization. Why didn't they come and get him out of Carthage? Well, history doesn't answer that question. There could be very many possibilities. There was no commander-in-chief, so they didn't know what to do. Joseph didn't have a cell phone, so he could say, hey, come and get me. There's a certain amount of imagination and speculation that has to go with that. Well, while Joseph was alive, there were, in the end days there of Nauvoo, there was more than angry people. He started marrying other men's wives. Men have a tendency to look down on that. And they have a tendency to get a damn gun and go over to Joseph and say, what the hell? And Joseph said, well, that's the flaming sword. And they go, put that flaming sword where the sun don't shine. I've been looking for that flaming sword. It's never come into my life. So there could be several of those. It was Heber C. Kimball that, in fact, I think there's a Heber C. Kimball building when I was at BYU. I think it was the cafeteria there on Shipman Hall area. And Joseph wanted his wife. Well, he's quite a father and he's quite a husband. And he says, Joseph, he says, I really kind of like my wife and I can see why you'd want her. But I want to keep her. Let's make a deal here. I got a 14-year-old. She's cute as hell. And I'll give you Helen Marr, my daughter, to a 38-year-old man to just screw and screw and screw. And Joseph goes, I think the Lord changed his mind. I'll take the young one. I used to believe these stories, and I'm so ashamed. I'm 64 years old, and for 50 years there, I thought, that makes sense. I knew the flaming sword was coming to my house at any time. Anyway, Joseph needed protection. The first presidency of the church in Nauvoo, he excommunicated. William Law was one of them, who owned the Nauvoo Expositor. And Bennett, God, I want to say William C. Bennett, but I'm not sure about his first name. But Bennett was a doctor, and he performed many abortions for Joseph Smith. Well, when you're killing babies and you're marrying other men's wives, and you're sleeping with 14-year-olds, the community, I think it was in Missouri, they tried to tar and feather him. And that story, I've told you before, they brought a doctor with them because the doctor was going to castrate Joseph Smith. So they tarred and feathered him, and somehow the castration was not done. And that's to the dismay of millions of people. But anyway, the castration was circled around the events of Joseph marrying other people's wives and sleeping with 14-year-olds, and the community was very upset about that. And so Joseph was involved in several antics that would cause people to be more than upset. Screwing your minor daughters, stealing your wives, stealing your money. There were many people that Joseph screwed, and I believe he was the one that started the Danites. Now, the Danites are not like the CIA or the FBI. The Danites were paid professional hitmen. That's what they did. And it was very secret. Most of the church then and most of the church now do not know that there was a hit man, society, to protect the life of the prophets. And so it didn't take a vote, it didn't take a consensus of a group of people. Joseph could pick up his cell phone and go, hey, it's John Smith on 15 West Street. You know what I mean? And the Danites believed that they were like the strapling warriors, the 2,000 in the Book of Mormon, and they had and also Nephi, who cut off Laban's head, that they had the authority from God Himself to kill people, and they did. There were many times, I'm sorry, that Brigham mentioned that people tried to poison him, and there is some things that are not clear upon Brigham's death. It said he died eating fruit. It appears that that fruit may have been poisoned, and William Law and Bennett have both said that they were attempted to be poisoned. So these Danites are real people. Now, during Brigham Young's time, Porter Rockwell, we know, was a Danite. And Porter Rockwell, God, I've seen high numbers on this. I'm not sure I believe them as much. Well, does it matter? If he killed one person, what's the difference between that and 20 people? So the principle is still there. That Brigham would use his cell phone and go, Porter, you know, Jim Smith, I understand. And you never heard, you never saw, again, Jim Smith. One of the also indicators of Brigham Young being involved in Danite type operations is the Mountain Meadows massacre down in Washington County, down by St. George. There were one stake president, well, I shouldn't say one, there might have been one or two stake presidents and several bishops that were somehow ordered to disarm the Mountain Meadows people. I think it was a wagon train coming in from Arkansas, and they wouldn't let them pass unless they forfeited all their weapons and came to them under a white flag. And so the settlers did that, and then the Mormon church, they always blame things on women or Indians. Or blacks. They're the magical things that make society suck. So the Mormons say that the Indians painted their faces, and they said that at Carthy's jail too, that men had painted faces. Well, there weren't too many Indians up in the Carthy's jail area, and down in southern Utah there may have been a few Indians, and so the Mormons said that the Caucasians led the Indians to slaughter 120 men, women, and their children. Just shoot them and kill them right on the spot, and they were unarmed. Well, that was probably Danite sponsored and ordered, and there may have been runners from Brigham Young, like the Pony Express back and forth, and secret messages going back and forth to go ahead and slaughter these people, which they did. Well, as time went on, the poor public relations of the Danite operation, if it was that, down in Mountain Meadows, became extremely unpopular. And one stake president, as I remember, was killed by a firing squad, and there might have been one or two bishops that ended up in jail over that. And the one that was executed insisted that Brigham Young had ordered it before his execution. Now, you know, was he telling the truth? I think he was. Others will say, oh no, he was going to hang and he was just trying to get out of it. And Brigham would never do that. Well, Brigham would had 57 wives in the Beehive House and the Lion House, and it's appropriate that he called it the Lying House. Not lion, lying house. So that's about what I know about the Danites. Now, let me carry that idea a little bit more forward that I do know about, not intimately, but casually. There is a committee to strengthen the members. Now, the Mormons always, in cults, always cults, say, we love you, when they really mean we hate you and we're going to kill you. Cults always have opposite meanings and opposite, a court of love in the Mormon church. It's not a court of love. They're going to excommunicate your ass. You're going to lose your wife, your family, your children, and that's not much love. I can go without that love. And I've never been in court. I've never been accused of that. I've never been excommunicated. I don't have my feelings hurt. I just read the history and doctrine that I'm telling you now and go, hey, this is fantasy stuff. So there is a committee. I'm trying to think. I just read this not too many weeks ago that the committee, I think, was discovered in the 90s. And the church denied it for years and years that there was no such committee. There was a letter from a general authority, Glenn Pace, wrote a letter to the first presidency saying that he had strong evidence of at least 60 members of the church who were involved in satanic rituals in the chapels and in the temples. And oh my God, when that shit hit the fan in Salt Lake City, some heads started to roll, and the committee to strengthen the members certainly was called upon, like the Danites. Now, let me tell you what this committee does. There are a lot of FBI agents and a lot of CIA agents. I was in a ward where there was 1 or 2 secret FBI agents. They couldn't even tell you what they did because they'd get killed in the Mormon church. And they love surveillance. They love wiretapping and peeking at other people's having sex. And their job, as explained and finally admitted by the Mormon church in the 90s, they finally said, well, yes, we do have a committee, but it's to strengthen the members. Well, it's very possible, and in my mind now, I would say, for me, now I'm not preaching this, but for me, I think it is the remnants of the Danites. I think it is the philosophy and policies. Now, do these people kill people? I don't think so anymore. Now, again, it's just my opinion. But what the committee does is it scans all the newspapers, all of the TV shows, all of the lectures, and all of the radio shows, mass communication in the United States. And if they spot a Mormon who has said something that is not complimentary, like my videos, they're not complimentary of the Mormon church. Well, the committee then would get the name and the address, and they would do like a full FBI or CIA investigation. So they find out what ward you're in, your bishop's name, your stake president, and then what the committee does, and they say this. Now, whether they do more or not, I'm suspecting they do. But the church admitted that the committee for the strengthening notifies your bishop and stake president and tells them that you're an apostate, or that you're preaching a doctrine that the church doesn't officially sanction, and then your bishop and your stake president are very, very likely to excommunicate you. So the committee has been painted as a reporting agency. Well, yes, I think, and no. I think if you're a troublemaker, that the committee is like the CIA and FBI. They have covert operations, and you may get surprised by being fired. You may get surprised by having the police show up at your home because someone has charged you with a crime that you had absolutely nothing to do with. So employment, your reputation, anything that the committee can do to spoil you and your good name, I think they have access to the computers of the state of Utah, the DMV, the tax computers, and boy, someone can pick up a phone. I think there's a tape I've got about taxation in Utah. It's very interesting that after I started my videos, the state of Utah charged me $2,000 more in taxes last year, because they said my children were not born and adopted in the United States. Well, that's what the code says. If they're adopted, you have a right to a deduction. Well, I took that deduction, and TurboTax gave that to me, and TurboTax is pretty sharp. They don't put stuff in there that is not part of the code. Well, Utah, they have a way of interpreting their own code. So am I suspicious? Yes, but I don't want to be paranoid. My meds keep me from being too paranoid. But to suddenly get a $2,000 bill, and then when I argued it and showed them their own code, that it didn't say they needed to be adopted in Utah, it just said adopted. So I met that deduction and credit. And they said, no, that's not the way we interpret it. We interpret it, it has to be in Utah. How do you fight that? Is that the committee to strengthen? They can't touch me because I'm not a member of the church, but I've had warnings. I've had warnings over the internet with friends that are positive, and they're saying, look over your back and watch out. Well, God, I'm so damn old, and I've had quad bypass. If they get me, they'll just say, well, see, he had bad health anyway. And, they're sending me to a place that's better than Utah, so I don't care. So the committee to strengthen the members is a secret committee. I don't know who's on it. I don't know how they're chosen to be on it, but there's a lot of Mormons that like to watch other people have sex and take their keyboard and go in and hack this and hack that. And I got my Google ad program just shut down the hell. I mean, you don't see any commercials on here like you used to. And that was definitely the Mormon church. There's no doubt in my mind, because they pay millions to Google in advertising so that when the search engine goes up on a Mormon subject, the Mormon church comes up first, not anti-Mormon website. So I'm aware of that, and I expected that. And the 8 cents and 9 cents a day I used to get off those ads embarrassed the Mormon church, because they would have I am a Mormon ads under my name, and your tithing was being spent to make those advertisements. So there's a lot of uncertainty about the committee to strengthen the members. That's a lie. It's not there to strengthen the members. It's there to find potential apostates or people doing damage to the Mormon church, and they'll get their ass out of there. They'll call your bishop, they'll call your stake president, they'll shut down your ads on YouTube. You may lose a job. You may get called in by the DMV for something you didn't do. And every government agency they oversee. Now, I don't want to go any further than that, because I don't want to be speculative. I want to have my videos reflect the truth. And in my mind, that is the truth. I don't really know too much more, and I don't want to, because I'm not afraid of the Mormon church, and I'm not afraid of its people. If they send people over here dressed with painted faces and shoot me out the window from the 3rd floor, I'll just fall on the grass by the well and die. I mean, it seems like a good end to my life here. So I hope that this explanation between the Danites and the committee to strengthen, I think the committee to strengthen is an extension of the old Danites. Do I think that they shoot and kill in cold blood? I'm not going to go that far. Do they poison people or kill their dogs? Again, I don't know. But I've seen the history of this organization, and if its leaders tell other people to lie, cheat, kill, steal, the other Mormons will do that.